Hey man, are you ready for this?
Yeah, I was ready 20 years ago.
Okay, let's do this.
Here we go.
Yes. Yooka-Laylee, the game that dares to ask, what if Gru from Despicable Me had a B-sona? And really liked capitalism. When the Kickstarter for Yooka-Laylee was announced back in 2015, I was beyond thrilled. Hearing that a Banjo-Kazooie spiritual successor was in production and that it was being made by the original devs of Banjo-Kazooie was basically a dream come true. I scrounged up $40 to pledge to the Kickstarter, which was enough to support something I was ecstatic about and also get myself a free copy of the game. You can actually see my name in the credits right here. I waited for the game to come out, and when it did, I was all over that game on day one. After beating the game, I definitely had some thoughts about it. Now, a lot of people might sit here and expect me to bash Yooka-Laylee at this point in the script. Despite having some grievances with the game, I actually had a pretty good time with it. But I do have grievances. I think just about everybody who played this game had grievances with it. If you're familiar with the Yooka-Laylee story, you might know that its reception was mixed to lukewarm. Playtonic, the studio that made the game, was in a sort of fledgling state. Despite being full of game dev veterans, the team was very small, and this was their first game as Playtonic. With that in mind, I try to cut the game a bit of slack. I think the original Yooka-Laylee experience is okay. There's some really frustrating gameplay choices and some really annoying minigames. And then there's like this ability you get at the end that kind of breaks a lot of stuff I found, especially when you backtrack to worlds that don't expect you to have that ability. But overall, despite some gripes I had about the game, it was passable. Maybe like a C+ or B- if you had to give it like a letter grade. It lacked the level design genius of Banjo-Kazooie, which felt more tightly designed with easy to spot landmarks so you never got lost, and it felt more like the sprawling and looser Banjo-Tooie, just without fast travel. I personally still had a good time with it, like I said, but it was a flawed game that lacked some pretty serious quality of life things that brought the experience down. I did go on to play Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, the side-scroller 2D sequel. I did get Impossible Lair for free, actually. It was being given away on the Epic Games Store a couple years ago, so I picked it up because why not, right? Other than having to download the Epic Games Store app, I guess. I was super impressed by Impossible Lair. I thought it was on par with DKC Tropical Freeze, if not better. It had some really cool innovation in how the levels worked. Really liked that. And Impossible Lair honestly gave me a spark of hope for the Yooka-Laylee series. I never really thought the devs had somehow forgotten how to make stellar games or anything. The first Yooka-Laylee just felt like it needed more manpower to it. It was a really good concept, really good ideas, but the team that put it together was just really small. They didn't have the funding that they had back in the Rareware heyday when they were making Banjo-Kazooie. The assumption from the fans was that a third game was coming and it would probably be another 3D platformer. And after Impossible Lair came out, I think people were really excited to see a Yooka-Laylee sequel, knowing that Playtonic was in a spot now where they could really tackle a 3D platformer and make it feel very polished. I was incredibly surprised when Yooka-Replaylee was announced. I thought it was a joke at first, and then I realized it was real, and I asked myself, why? We live in a climate right now where it feels like games are getting remakes or remasters when they really don't need that treatment. The biggest offenders are, well, God's unluckiest soldier, and
I'm special because there's fungus zombies in my game instead of normal zombies. Hee hee, I'm so quirky.
But really, it's a problem, I think, that games are getting remastered too soon instead of just being made accessible for future console generations, and I was very worried Yooka-Replaylee was going to be the same thing. And then I stopped and I listened to what the devs were saying at Playtonic, and I get it now. I actually get why they are remastering this game. They are earnestly looking back at the product they made, and they are recognizing that it's a project that they could have done better if they had the resources and manpower that they have now as a studio. And so they're effectively going back, polishing the graphics, the lighting, and adding a ton of quality of life to the game, as well as just a lot of other stuff. And it's really cool. And it's not small bits of quality of life either. They're giving us the ability to freely use the roll ability to traverse the game, which seems like a small thing, but for those who have played Banjo-Kazooie, imagine doing the whole game without Talon Trot. Or, if you've not played Banjo-Kazooie, just imagine playing a video game and you can't sprint, forcing you to travel at a far slower pace and gradually getting more and more frustrated by that. They're also adding warp points on the map, and yes, you can actually view the map now. I don't think that was in the original at all, which honestly, this is something I really like in 3D platformers. They need to make this like standard if it's not standard by now. They've gone back and they've polished up some of the challenges to make them less frustrating and tedious. They've added a challenge tracker to the game so you can keep, well, track of what you've done in the level so far. There's new collectibles, new funny tonics to change cosmetics or add funny effects to the game. They've altered the camera controls to make them more fluid and easier to control. The music, which was already good, I mean, it was done by Banjo-Kazooie's Grant Kirkhope and Donkey Kong Country's David Wise, has all been recorded by an orchestra. This is what they are boasting with this remaster, and it's incredible. Looking at the graphics, things have been brightened up and just feel way prettier. Which, like, yeah, that makes sense, right? Because, like, the first game came out in 2017, and it's been a minute since 2017. Not like a long minute, but like a minute. That's like, what, 7 years? It's been a whole 7 years? Oh my god, it's been a whole 7 years. On December 6th, they released a developer commentary about Yooka-Replaylee and showed off about an hour of gameplay in Glitter Glaze Glacier, which is honestly a level that I despised the first time I played the original game. The level looks way better now. The developer, Gavin Price, was actually talking quite a bit about some of the changes and mindset that they were having while going into this project. They want the game to be more respectful of the player's time, and they want the game to feel more tightly designed, which I think is exactly what it needs. They were talking about how they changed some of the elements to the levels to simply just be less tedious and annoying. And they also talked about how they wanted to make things feel more rewarding towards the players. Just listening to the commentary from that video plus Ant Dude's video on getting to play the demo himself, I'm gonna be honest, guys. I think it's gonna be a good game. I think it's gonna be the game that we wanted back in 2017. I think Playtonic has sold me on this, 100%. I think that this is gonna be a good remaster. Now, for total transparency, I have not finished the developer commentary video yet. It's the holiday season, I've been very busy. I was actually supposed to come out with 2 videos before this one, but they're sitting half done currently on my PC. But so far, everything with Yooka-Replaylee is really just exactly what I could have asked for. The only thing that I feel like is a kind of missed opportunity is that they're apparently getting rid of expanding worlds. I may be in the minority when I say this, but I actually found the idea of expanding the worlds to be really neat and innovative. I feel like they could do a lot with that concept and give the players a bit of agency as to what worlds they want to explore more. Maybe that would work better if there were more pages in the game in general, and if there were multiple tiers of expansions per world. Maybe this is something that they will revisit in the next game. I hope so, at least. I think if they put more of an emphasis on each world being a storybook of some kind, maybe by playing off of tropes and archetypes and cliches, and then having different tiers of expansion per level, that would be an amazing touch to this series, and really further distinguish it from Banjo-Kazooie, giving it its own identity. I am really excited for this remaster, and I'm sure some people are wondering, as a backer and as someone who played the original game, what changes I would personally like to see in this remaster. There's a few. I feel like the big ones have already been addressed and they will be getting changed, which is really exciting. But if I had to do a little wish list, Here is what I would change in Yooka-Replaylee. In Yooka-Laylee, occasionally there were spots in the original game that had a lot of one-hit KO mechanics. I really don't like that kind of thing in games. I find them to be really stressful for no reason. And the problem was in Yooka-Laylee, it felt really spontaneous and kind of inconsistent as to when those times would happen. I would like for them to do away with the one-hit KO portions of the game and just change it to if you get hit, then you just lose some health. I said I didn't like Glitter Glaze Glacier, and that's really one of the places where I ran into that problem of suddenly there were these portions where if you got hit at all, you just died. I know the next one is a very common complaint. Some of the mini games, particularly with Rextro, were really frustrating. I know they said that they wanted to make some of the challenges easier or just less tedious. I really hope they do that with Rextro's mini games in particular. They weren't enjoyable, even though Rextro's entire theme is really just Amalia core, I would say. Listen, I love dinosaurs and I love retro games, but every time I saw Rextro, I wanted to run and scream and cry in terror because I just knew there was some new type of torture session ahead of me and that I was going to get angry. I just knew every time without fail, especially the stupid casino one. That one. I hate it. Anyways, so please, let's make Rextro someone we're happy to see, not someone we want to run away from. Next on the list, I want them to nerf the final boss. Please. He was terrible. He was miserable. He was way too hard for no reason. Why was he so difficult? Please nerf him. Thank you. And for my final point, Playtonic, you better keep that weirdish planet fight. You better. Galleon Galaxy as a world went absolutely crazy. I love that world. That fight was kind of traumatizing, but in the best way possible. Please keep it in. Please keep it exactly how it was before. Please. It was hilarious. I loved it. I plan to pick up Yooka-Replaylee when it launches. Probably on Steam this time. My Yooka-Laylee copy is actually for my PS4, since that was what I was primarily playing on when I backed the Kickstarter. If you like 3D platformers, I'd say to keep your eye on this one because we could see something really nice here, and I'm excited. It's free to wishlist on Steam already, so go wishlist it. And if you need any more, motivation to do that, also Shovel Knight is in it, which is really wild, and sometimes I think about that, but it's also really cool. But yeah, go wishlist Yooka-Replaylee. Go do it right now. It looks really good, and I'm excited, and all 3D platformer fans should be excited. That's what I think, at least. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want more funny dragon on the internet talking about video games. I will be back with another video. It's already halfway recorded. I better get back on that. Anyways, I'll see you later. Bye.
Finally time. Oh, thanks to you, it's the game revival. You helped come true.
Thanks for watching.